What is up, beautiful people? We are coming at you live Monday, June 11th here at Head Kick Radio. We are fresh off the UFC 225 here in Chicago, and it is very late at night. Justin and I just got back from witnessing the chaotic event that was UFC 225, and it was pretty exciting, I have to say. Justin, how are you right now, my friend? We just were at a 7-hour-long event. Tell the fine people that are our listeners how you're doing.
Well, personally, I'm tired right now, but I had a fantastic time at UFC 225 with you, my friend, my buddy Kyle, and his friends sitting in front of us. It was just an electric crowd the entire night. I feel like we should touch on one thing, though. Romero did miss weight, came in at 185.2, so the main event, there was no belt on the line. Still a hell of a fight, though. But, Steven, I had a great time at UFC 225. First time I've experienced anything like this, being amateur or professional. And I had a great time. I would absolutely go back again. What are your thoughts? What do you think of tonight there, bud?
All right, man. I've been to a few events, and I want to say the UFC puts on a top-notch, event in an arena. I did not see any fights in the crowds, which is wild to me because you can't go to those events without some drunken people throwing down in the crowds. I did not see one fight. Everybody was okay besides us getting called assholes in the parking lot.
Well, that's a mad scramble when you're trying to leave. That's going to happen.
Yeah, we didn't let them in front of us. They gave us a cool nickname. We'll take it. But yeah, man, it was a great night and it was a fantastic card.
Fantastic card.
Very fantastic.
Can we appreciate? I'm sorry, I'm losing my voice here. If the listeners can't tell, by the way, I lost my voice. I was a little bit too excited tonight, so I apologize if I sound weird. But can we just talk about how awesome this card was leading up to today, and the fact that it stayed together
is the wildest thing, right?
Exactly. You had was it Bobby Green was supposed to
fight? Yeah, Bobby
fight?
Green was supposed to fight Clay Guida in the second fight of the night.
And then, so he had to drop out because I don't know if it was a personal issue or an injury. I don't remember off the top of my head. But then you have Charles Oliveira step in, which, okay.
Do Bronx.
I am all in. Got the victory, by the way.
He did work. Do Bronx did work with that guillotine.
Yeah, this card was stacked. It lived up to the hype, and it stayed together. I feel like this is what the UFC almost needed after the UFC debacle in Madison Square Garden. How, there was fights taken off the card. I feel like this is something they almost need. Well, not needed. They don't need anything.
I know, but we'll get to the big thing here is Romero missed weight for his second title fight. You can't be having that. But other than that one little small factor, it was a great night.
Fantastic night.
My boy Joe B, though. Let's skip ahead because we just talked about Clay Guida.
Let's hop right into it,
Our
man.
boy Clay Guida gets choked out and he's still running circles in the cage because the guy has energy for days. Kudos to Clay Guida. Shout out to him. But he just didn't get it done against Do Bronx tonight. Congrats, Do Bronx. You're going to get another top contender because you're a very game opponent for anyone. But Joe B, Joseph Benavidez versus Sergio Pettis. I'm a little upset about that fight because you saw me, I was glued to that fight. My eyes weren't coming off of it. I'm not sure I blinked. I think they're still dry because of it. And in saying that, Joe B was robbed, man. He won 2-1. He got dropped in the first by Sergio. Kudos to Sergio. He's, close to being a Chicago kid. He's up in Milwaukee, which is an hour and a half away. But I don't know. I didn't see the fight that way. Maybe I'm just being a homer and I'm all over my dude Jiu-Jitsu here, and I just think he won that fight. He's the number one contender, or should be, but he just didn't get it done tonight when to me, he clearly did. But my problem with the whole thing was, and you're going to agree with me here, is in the split decision, one judge scored it 30-27 Sergio Pettis.
Well, I agree with everything you just said leading up to now that Benavidez got not necessarily hosed there. I did have it 2-1 regardless, but I think I had Benavidez winning as well. Like you said, he got dropped early from a nice left, I think it was, from Sergio. It's a really nice left. It dropped him, but it seemed like from that point on, Benavidez took control of the fight.
Oh, handedly.
And the fact that one judge, like you said, had it scored 30-27, and that wasn't the only time that happened tonight. That was a little surprising to me. But I would agree that your boy Joseph B. He didn't get hosed. It was a very close fight, but I think he won. I think he won a very close fight. And I don't.
Yeah, Sergio's a very, very good opponent.
Very good opponent. This is something we can maybe talk about in another podcast, but discussing on the way back here to record this, we had maybe talked about if you've been in the UFC for a while and you've gone through that ringer of I've fought for a belt, I lost, I've climbed up the rankings again. You know,
what you're saying is there's no love for the old guy.
It's almost kind of feeling that way because I feel, I think Benavidez beat Sergio tonight, and then I also think a couple weeks ago, I think Wonder Boy beat Darren Till.
Yeah.
That might have been some home cooking.
There's no love for the elder statesman. I mean, that's what you want to know is, like, over in Liverpool, was there some home cooking for Darren Till? That's a good question. But the next fight after that, like, I don't even want to harp on Joseph Benavidez because honestly,
there were so many things on this card that we can hop to.
Yeah, I love Pettis too. Like, I'm glad that he, if Joe B was going to lose to somebody, he's losing to somebody like Sergio because Sergio, I think, is a good kid for one, and he's up and coming, and he's got a bright future. But the next fight after that was Rashad Evans versus Anthony Smith. I'm going to tell you right now, Rashad's lost 5 in a row after tonight. It's not even tonight anymore. I don't even know what day it is. But poor Rashad, man. Chicago boy, he did not look good. He got demolished really quickly by Anthony Smith.
I think it was 53 seconds in, he gets caught with a knee, and I mean the ref stepped in right away, which was good, and he seemed to miss out on taking a lot of unnecessary damage. But like you mentioned, man, that's 5 losses in a row now. It's you can't tell an athlete when it's time to hang it up, but it's you hate seeing this happen to a former champion. Like Rashad was, at least from what I can remember, a decade ago, there wasn't anybody that didn't like him. Like, he was a universally loved guy.
Oh,
and,
for sure.
Now he's been maybe that could speak to how stacked this card was, but he's fallen all the way to the main fight pass prelim on something that might not even exist anymore after this UFC deal.
That's true. I mean, he has taken a record fall, and tonight, I think that was it. He walked out of the cage. He didn't say anything. He didn't hang it up or anything like that in public, but you have to think, or one would think, I should say, that is probably it for him, at least in the UFC. I hope he doesn't go to Bellator because nobody wants to see it. Like, nobody wants to see Chuck Liddell come back.
I mean, still to this day, given this was like a decade ago, Rashad Evans still is one of the most devastating knockouts for me personally was when he knocked out Chuck Liddell and just stoned him. Like, that's always going to live in my memory. So, like, I will be a Rashad Evans fan forever, but
he's just hung on too long.
It happens. Oh, and quick shout-out, by the way. I don't know if it was just announced today, but we found out who's getting inducted to the Hall of Fame this summer, by the way. Congratulations, Ronda. I mean, that's awesome.
Ronda Rousey.
Yeah, that's awesome. Like, I think I might have thrown some shade at her in previous stuff we've done, and yes, I'm not the biggest fan of hers, and that's understandable, but
would some call you a sexist pig? I'm just kidding. I just
want
to throw that out here. I'm tired. I had to throw that out here.
I would hope not, but that's awesome, man. Good for her.
Yeah, good for Ronda.
And it's going to be that week. It's International Fight Week happening before Stipe DC. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome. Just want to throw that out there real quick. That's awesome. Congratulations, Ronda.
Yeah, congrats to Ronda. It's well deserved because there was 2 lady fights that we're about to get to here in a second, and they wouldn't be in the UFC if it wasn't for her. So shout out to
Absolutely
Ronda Rousey for paving the way for all the ladies. And honestly, thank you for paving the way so I can watch these ladies. I'm going to be selfish with that one. Thank you because honestly, I've watched a lot of fighting, and there's nothing more than I think that I enjoy than watching the women fight because they throw down, whereas men like Whitaker tonight, for example, when he got hit, he circled around a lot. No, not the ladies. They get hit, they step forward, and they just start throwing hands.
So let's talk. You kind of prefaced it. Let's talk about this first ladies fight of the night.
Hang on, before we get to there, we're going to touch on 2 real quick. That De La Rocha versus Coulter fight, I was very surprised by because De La Rocha, 39-year-old man, I did not expect him to look as good as he did. But let's be real. There's levels to this heavyweight game. I don't think they're both there yet, but that was a fun fight to watch.
That was a fight for the fans.
That was a fight for the fans.
And, yeah, it was, it was a good win by De La Rocha. Yeah, it was very entertaining to say the least. The first round was awesome, throwing bombs back and forth, two heavyweights, going at it. And then in the second round, De La Rocha got the fight to the ground, mounted him, and just kind of controlled it from there and got a stoppage from the ref.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
And then fight after that, Ricardo Lamas, Chicago boy, goes down to Mirsad Bektic. Bektic probably has the best Ron Jeremy mustache I've seen in the UFC in a while.
I said it while we were there. He left the United Center to go film a porno.
I'm going to agree with that because I think there's a convention out in the suburbs right now, so I'm going to agree with that, my friend. Let's get to Claudia Gadelha, Carla Esperanza.
I'll let you take the reins here, buddy.
All right, so
lay it down on us.
I'm a big Claudia fan. I think that she is the toughest test Joanna has ever faced before Rose Namajunas, and Carla is was the inaugural 115-pound women's champion coming into the UFC. She is a bad lady, the Cookie Monster. She has one of the coolest nicknames. She's tough. Both of these ladies.
And she looked fantastic. I'm not trying to cut you off here, brother. She looked fantastic in her last fight against Cynthia Cavallo.
Yeah.
And Cynthia Cavallo is an up-and-comer.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, sorry about that.
No, you're good. You're good now.
So, Carla Esparza won that fight to get this fight with Claudia Gadelha. And what happened tonight, buddy?
So, all right, my opinion, it was the first two rounds clearly went to Claudia. Claudia she did her thing. She did what she needed to. To me, she clearly won the first two. And then in that third round, I don't know what she was thinking or what she was doing because she clearly just put that thing on cruise control. And Carla turned it up like 10 notches and may have, in my opinion, probably got a 10-8 round, but she didn't. And we were talking about the judges earlier. So Claudia gets the decision victory over Carla, split decision, but one of the judges
once again
gave Claudia a 30-27, and I don't know what third round they watched, and it was the most recent round. It wasn't even like it was the first, and they had 2 rounds to get amnesia over, but
I'm pretty sure Claudia got dropped.
Claudia got nailed, man.
I mean, she won the fight still, but I mean, yeah, like you said, this was the second time that happened on this card tonight where there was a split decision and a judge scored it 30-27.
It was wild. I don't know.
Very wild.
I don't know what they were looking at.
Now, I don't know if I necessarily agree with it. I mean, the third round was pretty lopsided, and you could have made an argument for 10-8, which at that case, it would have been a draw then. It would have been, 47 all then at that point or whatever it would have been. But,
yeah, that one could have been a draw for sure.
And then if I think I mentioned this while we were at the event tonight was, if you're going based off looks, you would have thought Carla Esparza won the fight.
Both those ladies were beaten up.
They were both beaten up, but, I guess maybe the only reason I would think that is because, the loser doesn't get interviewed, so I didn't get to see Esparza's face up close when Joe Rogan was interviewing her. But Claudia looked like she just went through war. I mean, and we've seen this happen before, like GSP and Big Rig Hendricks back in the day. People thought Big Rig won that fight.
Yeah, purely off how GSP.
Absolutely. Now, I'm not saying that's what happened tonight, but it looked like Claudia went to war, and I agree with you that it's a little strange to me that one judge scored it 30-27 when I would 100% agree with you that Esparza clearly won the third round.
Yeah, it wasn't even close. I don't know.
Clearly won the third round.
But
so let's
poor
get
Carla in that one. But I mean, Claudia I think did win the fight 2-1, rounds anyway.
Yeah. So what's next for? I mean, does she fight Joanna again?
I would say you give Claudia to Joanna. I mean, at least she should at least be the number one contender in waiting after Jessica Andrade.
As much as I don't want to do this, Claudia, I feel like she shouldn't be able to fight for a belt until she beats Joanna.
So, Joanna's going to fight Tisha soon. So
can we have a co-champion? We have Rose Namajunas up here, and it's like a video game.
And then everybody else.
You got to get through Joanna, and then you fight the real boss.
She's
at the end of it.
The real gatekeeper.
Yeah. No, I'm just kidding.
That's. I mean, hey, Joanna would like that, I think, but she'd also like another shot at Rose. So we got to see how that plays out.
So let's talk about the main prelim tonight.
Yeah, the main event of the prelims.
Curtis Razor Blades against All-Star Overeem.
Chicago boy Curtis Blades. I doubted this man. I doubted this guy, and I feel dumb for it.
Yeah, I mean, like once again, we kind of talked about this on the way back here, but he might be a little. Curtis Blades, of course, the man I'm talking about, might be a little bit of a slow starter, but man, once he got the ball rolling, man, it's almost like he took Overeem to the ground.
His wrestling's another level.
He took it to the ground and controlled it, man, and then some vicious elbows to end the fight.
It was nasty.
Vicious elbows to end the fight. I mean,
you could hear him.
Yeah, I mean, and our seats were fantastic, but we were still sitting.
Yeah, we were up there
decently away, and man, you could hear these elbows landing, man. I mean, what a win for Blades. It's what's next for Overeem. What's next for Blades? Does Blades get the winner of Derek Lewis, Francis Ngannou?
I mean, there was so much going on tonight, but didn't Blades ask for a title shot after this?
He absolutely asked for a title shot, but the only thing that I guess I would say to that is his only loss in the UFC is to Francis Ngannou. And Francis Ngannou is fighting Derek Lewis. And I don't know, maybe if Derek Lewis wins that fight, maybe he gets the winner of Stipe DC. Now, of course, we're getting ahead of ourselves and we're playing speculation here because anything is possible. Because DC wins, I feel like that changes everything. Because then you got another contender in Stipe technically then.
That fight is going to be insane. We get to cover.
We're going to break that down every way we can.
I don't know what's next for Overeem, but Curtis Blades, like if he doesn't get the champion,
he's in a number one contender.
You have to give him the number one contender fight, and who would that be? Who do you think is the next guy up?
I mean,
Taya?
Well, I mean, as I was going to say, that's the guy we're going to get to here. But but like I said, the only other heavyweight fight that I can think of that's been booked right now is the Francis Ngannou Derek Lewis fight.
Yeah.
So and that's a top 5 fight, I think.
But if Stipe beats DC, let's just hypothetically say nobody's really waiting. Like nobody's in line to see Francis
really
versus
waiting.
Stipe.
Exactly.
Again.
So do you go Blades Tuivasa? Because what I mean, that UFC 226 isn't for just under a month.
Yeah, July 7th.
July 7th.
So about a month
so it's
away.
just under a month. So I mean that would obviously be a super quick turnaround, and then you're going to give whoever wins that fight between Stipe and DC is going to go on a media tour.
Yeah, no,
blah blah blah.
They're not going to fight again until probably the December card.
Exactly. So it's going to be interesting to see because do we want to talk about CM Punk real quick?
Yeah, we have to.
Okay.
All right, guys.
Let's talk about that.
So I want to point out we watched an amateur fight tonight, and I'm not mad at it, but I'm gonna tell you what, the fans in the arena, they were pretty mad at it.
Well, I said it during the fight. Mike Jackson looked bored during the fight.
Mike Jackson doesn't even look like he belongs in that fight.
Late in the second round, there was a point where Phil Brooks, a.k.a. CM Punk, was on his back in full guard, and Mike Jackson was fully postured up. He was still in full guard. It's not like he had him full mount, still full guard, and was just sitting there, just kind of waiting. It's almost like he was waiting for something to happen.
I know. I'm CM Punk, man. Cred, man. He tried.
You tried it, brother.
He gave it his all. He wasn't quitting in there. He gave it his all.
He went all 15 minutes, man. He went all 15 minutes, and he didn't do it the first time. So, the hats off to that. And, it's, giving it with the Chicago card, and you're going to show the Chicago guy love and everything. But
I think the only loser in that fight was Duke Rufus, because that's a tough look on his gym.
As much as I hate bagging on fighters because they could clearly kick my butt any day of the week and twice on Sunday, I think it was pretty clear that even those two just fighting each other, it was pretty clear they don't. You give those guys anybody else at 170. I mean, I don't think it goes very well.
They're the bottom two, unfortunately. But CM Punk does carry a lot of weight with his
sell pay-per-views, man.
With his huge fan base.
Got to sell pay-per-views, brother.
Just like Ronda Rousey over in the WWE and her making the Hall of Fame.
Does he get his third fight of his contract, or do you think?
No, that's it.
You think the UFC just kind of lets it roll out? I'd agree with you there. I don't think we see CM Punk again.
Just like when this podcast is over, 15 minutes after it's over, he's done. Just like I'm going to be done for this day.
Oh my God,
That's how done he is, and I'm pretty done. But
And I mean, if Mike Jackson, maybe give him another unranked guy, maybe to see what he's got. But neither guy was overly impressive.
you got to give Mike Jackson something else because he did win. But I'm gonna tell you right now, whoever Mike Jackson gets, it's not gonna be pretty for Mike Jackson. And I'm gonna tell you what, don't showboat Mike Jackson. I'm sorry, don't showboat, sir, because you fought an amateur fight. Congrats, you won, but you're still in the big leagues, and you already got beaten up worse than CM Punk did by Mickey Gall. Guess what? You're getting somebody else that's better than CM Punk next, and that person's probably going to toy with you. So karma's dangerous. You got to go in. You got to be professional. You should have went in there. You should have tried to finish that fight, be a real fighter, but instead you just held on.
They obviously put that fight on the pay-per-view for a reason.
Yeah, CM Punk's fan base. Like it's clear as day. CM Punk's fan base is why CM Punk was on the main card.
Okay, now that the fight's over with and it's all done with, like, that fight had no reason being on the pay-per-view.
Well, right. It never did beforehand. Like, it shouldn't even been on the UFC card. It should have been held in an amateur fight somewhere else.
So let's hop to the next fight. CM Punk, after CM Punk, Mike Jackson. My boy, Tai Tuivasa, beats Andrei Arlovski via another split decision. A lot of split decisions tonight.
Hang on. I want to start with Taya. That his entrance music was Celine Dion. And
fantastic.
I know you sat right next to me and you heard me singing.
Fantastic.
I will sing the Titanic theme song any day of the week.
It was so good. It was so good.
And then the fight was good. He like these dudes. Okay, so we're talking about watching that amateur fight just before, but this fight was a professional heavyweight fight. These dudes threw down, and I mean, it was a dang good fight. Andrei Arlovski had some good cardio, and my opinion, I thought Andre won that 29-28, but I can give it to Taya 29-28 too. Yeah. It was close.
You know, and I don't want to sound like a broken record here, but it was something we also touched on when we were there. This was my fight of the night going into the main event. I thought it was I totally agree with you. Like, if they would have given it to Andre, I would have been like, Ty lost a close fight. Like, don't leave it to the judges, man. Like, I feel like neither guy was in a lot of trouble. A lot of guys, each of them was landing really good shots. Ty got cut early, so Arlovski probably took an early lead on that. I mean, I don't know if cuts matter in the judges' eyes, but
it looked like a headbutt on a takedown.
Yeah,
so
aesthetically looking, it doesn't look good. It looks like you're losing a fight, but hey, man, he got to win, so he's going to be in the top 10 now.
It was a great fight, and then afterwards he asked Joe Rogan for his shoe so he could drink beer out of it, and Joe shuts him down and says, "No, man, you can't have my shoe. I have to walk around in this shoe the rest of the night." Walks straight out of the cage to like the first fan he sees. They had a beer in a shoe for him, like their dirty Converse or whatever it was, their Vans, and the dude just chugs it. Walks like 50 yards down the exit ramp there. Somebody else right before he goes through the tunnel gives him another shoe, chugs it, and this guy's got blood on his face, sweat in his mouth.
I love it.
And he won me over.
I love it.
Like, he won me over a little bit by what he did in the ring, but he won me over by his like cool like antics outside of the ring.
Going back to what we were saying earlier, like, as much as it wouldn't really benefit Curtis Blades in any way, but if you gave me a Curtis Blades Tai Tuivasa fight on like an FS1 card
as a headliner,
I'd be
maybe in Australia, I'm in.
I'm all in.
I'm all in.
Curtis Blades has fought in Australia already. He beat Mark Hunt last time they were there.
Let's go.
I don't think Tai Tuivasa's in the title hunt quite yet because I believe he was, as much as we talked about the UFC rankings are all.
Yeah, they're weird.
I don't even know what you
Andre was ranked 9th when he beat him. I don't know what you
want to call him, but he was ranked. So he's going to be top 10 now. He's going to be ranked in the top 10. So maybe he gets like maybe what if you throw him Overeem?
Oh man, that's a good one.
Overeem or guys coming off a couple bad losses. Maybe
I don't know.
Do you think? How about him and Mark Hunt in Australia?
No, but don't ever give a winner a loser. You just don't. So Overeem's got to go fight another loser or somebody who hasn't fought in a while. You don't give Taya a loser. You give Taya Curtis Blades, or you give Taya somebody who's going to win.
So I wasn't overly impressed by his performance, but he won. So hey, a win is a win is a win. So you're moving up in those rankings, buddy. You're climbing up there.
I'm gonna tell you what, a win is a win is a win, But Holly Holm, the next fight, man, she looked good. And my girl, Megan Anderson, I was all aboard that. Man, I've jumped on some hype trains early in this podcasting business of ours, and they've all been shut down so fast. I should not jump and start any more hype trains anymore.
Yeah, I mean, that Holly Holm, that was as good as she's looked.
Ever. Like,
Yeah.
even better than when she knocked Ronda's head off.
And the thing is, too, people forget she was dominating that Miesha Tate fight until the 5th round.
Until Miesha choked her out.
Yeah, she was dominating that fight until Miesha choked her out. But let's not hop in our time machine here. She looked fantastic tonight.
Amazing.
Takedowns. She didn't. I just thought she looked incredible. I mean, Megan Anderson was just this big unknown. Like, she was supposed to be the one that was supposed to fight Cyborg and all this kind of stuff. And she still very well could be the girl that fights Cyborg, because Holly Holm had some interesting comments in her post-fight interview with Joe Rogan, talking about how she misses having the 135 belt,
Yeah,
but
she wants her belt back.
but 145 is kind of where she's at right now and all this kind of stuff, yada, yada, yada. What would you say impressed you the most about Holly Holm, since she did kind of neutralize your girl and who turned into my girl, Megan Anderson?
The thing that impressed me the most about her was the way she used her strikes to set up those takedowns. It was world class, very well done. Her top pressure was very heavy because Megan was doing things to potentially get out, from bottom, but Holly Holm just had a heavy top game, and
let's
she played
Megan
it well.
Anderson landed a vicious knee early in the fight.
Early in the fight.
And I think, I mean, I can't.
But
I
think the layoff of Anderson showed, though.
Oh yeah, I mean, she's young. I mean, she's not going anywhere. I mean, Holly Holm even mentioned she's 37.
Yeah,
I didn't even realize that Holly Holm's 37,
and she has a six-pack better than anybody I've ever seen in my life.
And I think Megan Anderson's only 30. Like, she's not going anywhere.
Her and Yoel Romero are probably the oldest ones on this card, minus like Arlovsky. And
like, if anything, Megan Anderson seems like she has the mentality that she's going to want to get in there in 4 weeks and be like, hey, if somebody drops off this 227 card, put me on there. I'm ready to go, because I'm not dogging Megan Anderson. I just think that speaks to how dominant Holly Holm was tonight. I didn't even really get to see anything from Megan Anderson tonight.
That's true, man. She didn't show much, and I feel bad for her, but I think a lot of it was the layoff, and you just went against a world class opponent.
And that's not me dogging her. Like, it's just, I think that's how good Holly Holm looked tonight. She was going for takedowns.
Yeah.
She had her trips on point, and when she got it to the ground, she held the bigger fighter on the ground and not necessarily controlled it, but Megan Anderson wasn't getting up.
No, not at all. But I have a question for you.
What's up, buddy?
It's about the 170-pound division. Do you think that the 170-pound division is going to be great again, like America?
Well, it's kind of hard for me to keep hating on a dude that keeps winning. Colby won. He's your interim champion. He's getting T-Wood. Whenever T-Wood is officially healed up and he's officially ready to go, you're going to get Colby Chaos Covington against Tyrone Woodley.
Yeah, you're getting tired because you can't even get officially out of there, but I like it. So tell the listeners what you told me tonight, because I think you summed it up very well with all the trash talking that Colby gives and all the hate that all the fans, like the fans in the arena hate him, the fans on social media hate him, the fans everywhere hate him. But what did you tell me? Because it sums it up perfectly.
I mean, I've been on the same boat. You wanted to shut him up, you got to beat him.
Who's going to beat him?
I thought it was going to be RDA, but now I'm on the Tyrone Woodley bandwagon here.
I'm telling you, I think Covington's a pretty big 170-pounder, and I think Woodley is too, but how's he going to be after that shoulder surgery?
I mean, how do you think? I think after the second round, RDA he didn't look gassed like he was totally tired, but he didn't look how he looked against Robbie Lawler. Like, he looked like he could have gone for 10 rounds against Robbie Lawler.
That Colby put on some heavy wrestling pressure.
Each time the fights or each round started, Colby Covington was in the middle of the octagon pushing the issue already, in his face, constantly. You want to shut him up, you got to beat him.
And his hands didn't look bad either.
No,
and he was throwing some kicks.
He won tonight. He won the fight 3-2, and I think it was a pretty decisive 3-2. I think it was a pretty decisive 3-2. So he's getting his shot to unify the belts now. Now this is what you wanted, and you got it. You won. This is what you got, man. Now, I will disagree with you and say Chicago pizza is not terrible and all our sports teams do not suck.
As a guy who's not from here but has lived here for almost 5 years now, Chicago pizza is the best pizza in the world.
Right, that's a different story for a different day, but man,
I feel like America's going to be great again because COVID. I'm just kidding. I can't fool you, fans.
Villain, man.
He is
that villain.
Everybody loves to hate this guy. I'm not a fan of him, clearly, because you don't talk trash about Americans and then want Americans to support you. I'm not about that. I'm about this country.
So yeah,
I'm not about Colby Covington.
Give me some of your takeaways from that fight, though.
I just think that his pressure was tremendous. Like, Dos Anjos couldn't do anything about it if he wanted to. He tried. Like, there was a good round where Dos Anjos took him down a couple of times, and the fans were cheering. We were all feeling good about ourselves, and I believe it was
Might
the
have been the third or fourth round, yeah.
And then Colby takes him down at the end of that round, and I said, yeah, here we go. It's Colby's train again. But when Colby even stood up, though, like I was saying, his hands look good, his kicks look good. Like, he did what he needed to do to get him up against the cage and get that deep single, and then trip him to the ground.
No one seemed to be in any major danger at any point during that fight. It just seemed like Colby just kind of dominated the fight.
Are you trying to pick the hardest words in your vocabulary to say back to back? Because
probably.
You're like, major danger. I like it. I like it, man. We are exhausted. Let's get to the main event here, and then we'll wrap this bad boy up because we're trying to give you guys bangers. I'm hoping this episode's a banger, but it is a late, early morning.
Late night, early morning, whatever you want to call it. Fight of the night?
I think it was fight of the night.
Fight of the night?
I don't know what Romero was doing for the first two rounds. Robert Whittaker. But those two guys, as much as they respect each other, you can tell that there's a little dislike there.
Can I say my piece real quick?
Say it.
I don't think this fight should have stayed the main event. I didn't. As much as I love hindsight.
Hang on,
listen,
excuse me, sir. Do you hate fighting?
I don't hate fighting.
Then this fight should have been the main event.
My whole thing is, if you're Robert Whittaker, you got nothing to gain here. You got everything to lose. Because if you lose to Romero, what does that do to the 85 division?
That's true.
What does that do to the 85?
Because we have a good question about how that fight ended. What's going to happen to the 85 division anyway?
Absolutely. I mean, and we can hit that on that here in a second. But it's just leading up to the fight. I mean, well, not leading up to it. The not even 24 hours leading up till the night. Like, it was.
So Romero misses weight by 0.2 pounds.
Yeah. Then the main event's in limbo because you're not really getting any solid reports that it's staying the main event. Is the fight still on?
Yeah, they were still asking questions after the fake weigh-in in the afternoon.
Yeah, like it was. I'm like, is Whittaker taking the fight? Is he not taking the fight? Now, me personally, I'm not saying Robert Whittaker is scared of anybody, but if I'm him, I'm like, there's no incentive for me to fight this man.
Other than that paycheck.
And like you said, 11 or pretty close to an 11-month layoff. I think they fought last July.
Yeah,
it was pretty close to a year. So you're right.
But I want to point that out because Robert had that knee surgery because he was taking that oblique kick, right there to the knee, and he returned a bunch of those tonight. Like, he was being vicious with him on Romero. Like, he was not. He was out for vengeance.
That's a strike that I've told you for a while now that I'm not a fan of the
John
oblique
Jones
kick.
made it famous.
I'm not a fan of the oblique kick. I think you can severely damage somebody's knee that way or possibly even end somebody's career. Like, it is what it is.
Yeah, it's a legal strike, man.
It is what it is. Until they change the rules, keep using it. But I'm not a fan of it because I don't like seeing people get their knees hyperextended like that.
It's crazy.
You know what I mean? Like, that can ruin your career, man.
I just want to do it to somebody to see what they do.
But yeah, man, what?
But what was Romero doing the first two rounds? He was
I don't know.
Covering up.
I thought he kind of seemed disinterested.
Well, it's not that he was disinterested. It looked like to me that weight cut really got to him, but maybe it did because he was like, I got to save this energy for these 5 rounds. But when he came out in that third, oh my goodness.
Oh, I mean, yeah.
Like, I don't know if Robert Whittaker was scared, but I was scared for Robert Whittaker when I saw the third round Romero.
Yeah, I mean, I did have Robert Whittaker winning the fight 3-2, but at least one of the rounds Romero won, I had it a 10-8 round. I thought the 5th round could have been a 10-8 round.
Could have.
So, I mean, that could have changed everything.
He was beating him up. I wouldn't be mad if this was scored a draw. It was scored 3-2. Robert Whittaker, by the way. Whittaker, he keeps his title. He doesn't lose anything. He wins the fight. he wasn't going to lose it anyway because Romero failed to make weight. But Whitaker looked good, but he didn't look like Robert Whitaker of his past few fights either.
Well, like you said, it was an 11-month layoff, and then you're fighting a freak of nature.
Yeah,
like Yoel Romero. I mean,
he fought a true 195 pounder. Like if there was that division, that's what Romero is, and he would be the king of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that ended up being the fight of the night and stuff like that.
It was a great fight.
It was just, it took a little of wind out of my sails. I was probably being a little Debbie Downer. It was a long day, like you said, man. We were in the United Center for 7 hours, man.
Long time. And we were only there because this card is so stacked.
It was insane.
Now I see why people don't show up to these whole events. But when you have a card that's this stacked where your second fight of the night is Clay Guida, Charles Dubronx Oliveira, you have to show up. You got to
be there.
And we showed up for the very first one just because we just happened to be there.
Yeah. No, I mean, it was a fantastic fight. I'm still glad I got to watch it and stuff like that. But it's just so unfortunate that fight was not for a belt.
I know.
It's just very unfortunate.
What's next for Robert Whitaker and Yoel Romero, and we'll wrap this up.
So if I'm Robert Whitaker, I'm probably getting Kevin Gastelum for, well,
he talked about his hand being
I was going to say, we didn't even touch on that. Robert Whitaker, Joe Rogan asked him right after the fight, what happened to your right hand?
Yeah.
And he said he broke his hand or something happened to his hand. So if that means another layoff for him, you have to get an interim belt out here.
So would you give Chris Weidman Kelvin Gastelum again? Because Chris Weidman choked out Kevin Gastelum the only time they fought.
Yeah, I mean, you would have to think Kevin Gastelum would have to be involved in that fight.
Rockhold's hurt, but he's also moving up to 205.
Exactly.
Romero doesn't make weight, so he's moving up.
Can't make weight.
I feel like maybe the match to make again was Romero Whitaker 3, and just to give him one more shot to see if he can make make weight.
Because we didn't even touch on the fact that he claims that the Chicago Commission stopped him from cutting weight an hour before his time limit was up.
I think he was just dehydrated and delusional.
I think it was to the point where doctors were like, "Yeah, this isn't safe for him to keep doing this. Like, you got to cut him off."
Maybe, but I don't know.
Who knows what happens with him at 205? Like, what if he's like one of these tweeners, kind of like Donald Cerrone? Like, Donald Cerrone's not a true 155, and he's too tiny for 170.
But he had success at 170. So are we saying Romero's going to have success at 205?
He could, but
do you think Romero beats DC at 205?
No.
I don't know. If DC beats a lot of people in this world. He's not even fair, and that's going to be a good fight to break down.
For some reason, I see a lot of Rumble and Romero. I see the Romero DC fight, if they ever got in the ring together. I see it going very similar as Rumble. DC.
I don't know, man. Yoel's an Olympic wrestler.
That's fair.
Rumble's not.
I mean, that's very fair.
He's explosive. I mean, so is Rumble, but like, I don't know if he hits as hard as Rumble.
Well, leading up till tonight, Dana White said if Yoel Romero wins, he's fighting he's fighting Gustafsson at 205, but he lost tonight. So what do you think that means for Romero?
I don't think that Romero really lost anything. I think you could still make that fight.
I would agree.
I mean, because Gustafsson hasn't fought in a while, so I wouldn't mind giving him a Romero at 205. Because of the Rockhold fight falling apart with the shin injury, getting
and if Whitaker's out for an extended period of time, like a 6-month medical suspension, the 185 division is just gonna go up in chaos.
Yeah.
Then.
185 and 205 is looking kind of thin right now.
Yeah, which is crazy because John Jones should be dominating the 205 division right now.
I think he'll be back.
I think he will be too, but we'll see what happens. But okay,
right,
buddy.
Let's wrap it up.
Final thoughts, UFC 225. We were live.
It was amazing, man. I'm glad we went. I had a blast. Thank you for going with me and all that good stuff. And thank you for sticking out this podcast tonight afterwards, because I know it's a tough one.
It's my pleasure, man. Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun. First event like that I've ever experienced, being amateur or pro, and it was a great time. Couldn't have been there with any better company.
The energy's awesome, isn't it?
The energy was electric. It was just a good time, man, hanging out with my buddy Steve, watching some fights. Now we're talking fights, and we're going to keep the train rolling, man. We're not going anywhere.
Let's do it. Let's keep this train rolling. This is episode 4 of Head Kick Radio, coming at you live here on June 11th, Monday. I hope you beautiful people have a great week. Justin, what are we?
We out.
We out.